police leaves a person in critical condition.
The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation is now looking into the moments surrounding the incident in Hickory Hill over the weekend.
WREG's Shay Arthur is live tonight after working to get more answers all day long. And Shay, what did you find out?
Hey, Stephanie. Hey, Greg. Well, tonight there are still so many questions in this case. The TBI telling us this is a use of force investigation, but publicly, what's being released so far is very limited so far. A sunny Monday afternoon. Everything seems normal in the area of Rains and Ross Roads. But tonight, an investigation is now underway after a traffic stop went south. Memphis police saying Saturday night officers stopped what they describe as a reckless driver in the area. But as they approached the driver of the vehicle, a confrontation occurred, and the driver took off running. After a pursuit, officers once again tried to take the driver into custody, and once again there was another confrontation. But this time, that driver was taken into custody. But the driver complained of having shortness of breath and was taken to the hospital by ambulance. Due to the person's condition, Shelby County District Attorney General Steve Mulroy called for the TBI to handle that investigation. According to his office, Mulroy can call on the agency to investigate at his discretion. This is the 7th time Mulroy has called for the TBI to look into a case involving Shelby County law enforcement since he became DA at the end of August.
Yeah, Greg. Well, TBI confirmed to us tonight that 29-year-old Tyree Nichols is dead. Now, TBI took over the case from MPD after Nichols was brought to the hospital with what the family is calling significant injuries. Family is mourning the death of 29-year-old Tyree Nichols. They say he was a father and an avid skateboarder. Memphis police say they got into a confrontation with Nichols after attempting to stop him for reckless driving here at Rains and Ross Road on Saturday night. Nichols was able to get away, but according to MPD, they caught up with him and another confrontation happened. Now, we don't know exactly what they mean by confrontation, but according to TBI, District Attorney Steve Mulroy called them in for a use of force investigation. Mulroy tells WREG he can call TBI in at his discretion, which he has done 7 times since he took office in August. After the second confrontation, Nichols complained of shortness of breath, according to MPD, and was taken to St. Francis Hospital. Chants echoing through the crowds at the National Civil Rights Museum Monday. Chants of frustration following the death of 29-year-old father Tyree Nichols.
Justice for!
And words of sadness.
And our family will never be the same because of the cruel act over a traffic stop.
His sister tearfully telling us his family now lives in a nightmare.
And we just want justice for my baby brother. He did not deserve this.
Their gathering comes less than 24 hours after Memphis Police Chief C.J. Davis and Memphis Mayor Jim Strickland released a joint statement saying officers involved in the traffic stop that ultimately led to Nichols' death have been served notice of impending administrative action. Nichols' stepfather, Rodney Wells.
It doesn't mean anything to me until the officers are arrested and charged. It doesn't mean anything. Those are words. We need action.
They're now calling for the release of officers' body camera footage and other video captured in the area at the time of the incident.
Say no more! Say no more!
An incident described by police as a confrontation that Nichols' family says made him go into cardiac arrest, left him with a broken neck, and suffer from other medical issues.
He was 6'3", 145, 50 pounds, soaking wet.
They know. They got the notification that they are in error and they are wrong.
Family says Nichols has never been in trouble. He was a skateboarder who liked to take pictures.
Tyree's not a gangster. He don't have a thug bone in his body.
Wells, who worked with his son at FedEx, says he's now on a mission.
Only thing that has meaning to me right at this point is getting justice for my son. That's it. That's all.
Richard, Memphis PD launched that body cam program back in 2015, but it wasn't until 2016 that officers started wearing the cameras. Memphis officers have strict instructions to have them turned on at all times. Body cameras are meant to protect them and the public. But when it comes to the public actually seeing that body cam video in Memphis, the track record is mixed, especially when it comes to high-profile cases.
Say no more! Release the video! Release the video! Say no more! Release the video! Say no more! Release the video!
Tyree Nichols' loved ones believe Memphis police body camera recordings will show the 29-year-old was the victim of police brutality. It wasn't until a Memphis police officer shot and killed 19-year-old Darius Stewart in 2015 that MPD finally equipped the entire department with body cameras.
The introduction of body cameras to this department has the potential to improve community relations, lower the number of citizens' complaints, defend officers against false accusations, and provide greater agency accountability.
But just 2 years into using them, when Martavius Banks was shot by police in South Memphis, multiple MPD officers turned their cameras off.
Don't move, put your hands up. Watch out, watch out, watch out. You got a gun, you got a gun.
While Banks survived, it was more than 2 years before MPD released this footage. According to department policy, if an officer is involved or a witness to a use of force incident, he or she can view the body camera recording after an investigator is approved. But the public isn't allowed to watch that same footage before it's shown at a trial. A right granted to only investigators, attorneys, and the news media whose public records requests are approved. But even that isn't a guarantee. In the Nichols case, the department is promising the video will be released, but only after the internal investigation and after his family can see the video first.
They have no knowledge of actually what happened. The only knowledge that they have is that their son is dead.
For several days, we have been asking the question, what happened during the arrest of Tyree Nichols? And for the first time, we have a better idea after speaking with a neighbor.
Nothing has ever happened like that before here.
On January 7th, everything neighbors have come to expect living in the neighborhood around Ross and Rains Road in Hickory Hill changed.
The whole scene was a little disturbing. You know, just all these officers out here, lights out here, and they were out here for hours.
A scene marking the end of a pursuit initiated by Memphis police, who claims Tyree Nichols was driving recklessly. As officers went to detain him, they say 2 confrontations broke out, leaving the 29-year-old severely injured.
I just saw him lying still. Lifeless, I really couldn't tell, but he was not moving.
WREG spoke with a woman who prefers not to be identified. She claims she saw video of the alleged attack taken by a concerned neighbor.
Based on what she said, the officers weren't able to catch him, and then once they did catch him, they ensued with beating him.
3 days later, Nichols died, sparking investigations by the FBI, TBI, and the Department of Justice.
No trespass, no peace!
Nichols' death is sparking calls for the video of the arrest to be released to the public, which the city of Memphis has vowed to do so. The neighbor we talked to believes there will be outrage.
When they see things like that, it gets them in an uproar. I don't think it's going to be perceived very well.
Hey, Shay, these statements come just over a week after Tyree Nichols was arrested. I spoke with his family, and they tell me they're still processing the statement and aren't ready to comment just yet. But I can tell you so many people in the community have been calling for this to happen.
No trespass, no peace! No trespass, no peace!
A day after protests broke out at a Memphis police precinct station, the city's top cop, CJ Davis, is breaking her silence and addressing the death of Tyree Nichols. In a statement released Sunday, Davis said, quote, "I have found that it is necessary to take immediate and appropriate action." This declaration coming after, she says, reviewing information involving the arrest of Nichols. Since the beginning, MPD has said the 29-year-old was pulled over for reckless driving and evaded arrest, which led to a confrontation, landing him in the hospital.
Just days before the public gets a chance to see for itself the video of the police confrontation with Tyree Nichols, the man who died a few days later, Shelby County District Attorney General Steve Mulroy talked to WREG about how his office looks into investigations involving police officers.
Whenever there's an officer-involved fatality of any kind, shooting or otherwise, I want to bring in the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation so they can do an independent and objective investigation into the facts.
MPD says 29-year-old Nichols was taken to the hospital after he complained of shortness of breath after what they called 2 confrontations stemming from a traffic stop. 3 days later, he died. Mulroy applauds police video being released.
I favor release of any video that we have as soon as possible, as long as I do it within the bounds of the law and in a way that does not compromise an ongoing investigation.
Wednesday, the U.S. Department of Justice stated the United States Attorney's Office opened a civil rights investigation in coordination with the FBI Memphis Field Office and the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice. The city of Memphis also said in a statement they are aware of the investigation and they, along with MPD, will cooperate with federal authorities.
Transparency, I think, is very important in a case like this. I'm aware that there's a lot of public concern over cases like this. Sometimes maybe a lack of public trust, concern about, whether there's going to be a cover-up, whether everyone's going to be really objective and do what they need to do.
And Mulroy's message to Memphis during this investigation?
I understand the special sensitivity when there may be some indication that, a fatality was the result of law enforcement officials. We're scrutinize that very carefully, and we're going to do what the facts and the law indicate is the right thing to do as quickly as we can without, again, compromising an ongoing investigation.
Now, this all comes after the death, of course, of Tyree Nichols. He died January the 10th, 3 days after what Memphis